Hi, my name is Atomicus, and I'm here to help you get into competitive TF2. This will be an in-depth series teaching you what you need in order to start playing competitive matches properly. Before we continue, I must say that these episodes are primarily aimed at new players who only play public servers, aka pubs. On the other hand, if you just started playing competitively and you're new to the scene, some of the episodes later on might help you out as well. Before we continue, you should have a decent amount of hours in TF2, where I assume that you know all the classes, including their total HP, and what they do on a basic level. You should pick a class that suits your playstyle and stick with that until you learn how to play competitively in a proper manner. Alright, first off, you'll require a set of tools and some tweaking that will help you improve and perform better in matches. Some are necessary while others are up to personal preference. Any download links will be added in the description. Starting off, we have PRec, which is a TF2 plugin created that records demos, takes screenshots, and logs your kill streaks automatically. A demo is a recording of your point of view from a competitive match, which can help you improve your performance overall by observing any mistakes that you might have made. You will need to head off to e2f12.org/PRec, then download the latest version of PRec that you can see over here. Then you need to open your TF2 custom folder and extract PRec in said folder. It should look like something like this. You will find any demos that you've recorded in your main TF2 folder. And if you wish to play any of them, you can do so by typing play demo in the console, and any demos will appear automatically in the list. You can also rename the demos as you see fit in order to keep track of them in a much more organized way. Next up, we have some tweaking that we can do from the advanced options menu. You should check fast weapon switch for obvious reasons, then play a hit sound every time you injure an enemy. This is very important since this will expand your awareness greatly. As an example, if you're a soldier, if you shoot a random rocket around the corner and you hear the hit sound, that means an enemy is around the corner. This will allow you to scout in a way and be aware of where the enemy might be. Then we have display damage done as text above your target. Another crucial option that will allow you to read out the enemy's remaining health depending on your damage upon his body. We will get more into this particular setting in a later episode. You should also check the automatically reload your weapons when you're not firing. But it's not necessary, as I personally prefer to reload manually. There are more options in this menu that you can turn on, but they're mostly about personal preference and some are class specific, so do as you wish for the rest. Next up, we should check mouse settings. Obviously, you should find your own mouse sensitivity and stick with whatever makes you comfortable, but two things that should help you is using raw input and no mouse acceleration. Personally, I use 800 dpi and 2 in-game sensitivity. Again, some people prefer high sensitivities, while others prefer low sensitivities. Whatever floats your boat, and more importantly, whatever makes you play better. Now we're going to do some console tweaking. You should have your console enabled by default. If not, then go to Options, then Advanced, and enable it. We will start off by adding the HUD_combat text_batching 1 command, which will add the total damage that you're dealing to an enemy for a couple of seconds. Then we have FOV_desired, which will increase your field of view, letting you spot more things on your screen. 90 is a good way to start. Next up, we have viewModel_FOV, which similarly as FOV_desired, it can make your weapon model smaller or bigger. Most competitive players prefer playing without view models in order to clear up the screen even more. This is, however, up to personal preference, so you can pick whatever feels better. A decent view model FOV that you can start with is 95. Now we will go over a very important command, which is about Interp settings. Interp works like this. The client receives a certain number of messages in advance of what it shows you and looks a certain distance into the past to render stuff. It's long and complicated, but the effect is that it slides to the newest update as it's ready in order to keep things smooth. The problem is that the default interp with Valve's games is unfit for competitive or intense play in games with fast movement like TF2. Rockets come out late, rockets hit you early, everything is just generally delayed. Some of the networking settings also don't get saved to the default config file, which means that unless you set them through an auto-executed config, you will have to set them every time you launch the game. If you have good internet connection, then you should use the interp ratio 1 and interp 0 settings. For a bad connection, you should try interp ratio 2. Before we continue, there are some additional settings that you might want to enable, and we call those launch options. Go to your Steam library, then Team Fortress 2, then set launch options. You can use console in order to enable the console, no vid, which disables the intro when starting TF2, no border, that disables borders in window mode, and then you have windowed/full. Note that you gain some extra FPS if you're playing in full screen. Okay, time to move on to custom HUDs. Competitive players prefer using HUDs that are minimalistic, which rely stats in a simple way without taking too much space on the screen. A list of decent HUDs can be found on huds.tf, where you can pick any HUD that you're comfortable with. I personally use BW HUD, while others use Race HUD. A common command that you can use while modifying your HUD, if you wish to do such a thing, is HUD_reload scheme, which can allow you to see any changes to the HUD without having to quit the game. Installing a HUD is as easy as installing PRec. First off, you head to huds.tf, then you browse through the HUDs, pick something that feels comfortable, then download. Then you'll have to add it into your custom folder, just as PRec. You'll have to make a custom HUD folder, or whatever you like to name it, and extract all the HUD folders in this folder. That's it. It's as simple as that. Moving on to something that you require in order to be more efficient in the competitive scene, which is Mumble. Mumble is a voice-over IP application primarily designed for use by gamers, similar to programs such as TeamSpeak and Ventrilo. Mumble is what the TF2 competitive community uses, so you should download and install it as a must. Even if you don't own a microphone yet, you can listen to other players and use their information in order to play better. However, if you plan on improving or joining a team, you should consider purchasing a decent microphone as soon as possible. Once you install Mumble, you should use push-to-talk unless you can set up a very good voice activation environment. A good key for the push-to-talk function is an extra button on your mouse or anything else that your fingers can reach in a comfortable way. A common question is if you can play competitive TF2 without a microphone. Yes and no. Without a microphone, you will never be able to taste the true feeling of competitive, and the game feel will be greatly limited. The last thing that we will cover before the end of this episode is something that isn't completely necessary but can help players with weak computers. These things are called FPS configs. They try to suck as much performance as possible while leaving the game's graphics in a horrible state. This short segment is only for people who can't run the game at a proper frame rate. I won't focus too much on this since I would like to assume that most people have decent computers for an old game such as TF2. A proper and easy guide can be found on Team Fortress TV by Comangliga with all the information and steps that you need if you require such configs. Now that you have pimped your game, we can continue exploring the vast competitive scene of TF2 in the next episode, where we shall discuss about competitive formats, class roles, and loadouts. You can find links in the description for the topics discussed earlier, and you should subscribe to get notified when the next episodes will get released. If you have any questions, do post them in the comment section or in my Steam group. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.